What is happening, everybody? MG here. MG Covers bringing you a brand new sports handicapping video. Title of this video: How to identify public line movement versus sharp line movement. Made a video about this probably maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, but this is an excellent example from yesterday from college football. We'll dive into that shortly. If you're watching this video for the first time, greatly appreciate you subscribing to the channel. If you want to follow me on social media, it's MGCovers, cover spelled with a Z, and there's a link in the description box to join and follow me on social media as well. All right, so let's talk about college football. Extremely fascinating. Before we talk about what I identify as a public line movement, I want to quickly review what sharp line movement is. Now, sharp line movement, and I learned this concept from Bob McCune, who I've mentioned on this channel numerous times. The correct identification, and there a lot of people will identify this differently, but for me, sharp line movement is late and it's subtle, meaning more times than not, there's exceptions to the rule in this business, but more times than not, sharp movement will be late, maybe an hour and a half before kickoff, sometimes maybe 5 minutes, sometimes 3 minutes before kickoff, but generally it's late and it's very subtle. And to define subtle with regards to a spread sport, it would be a line that, say, was at 4 and moved to 4.5 late, meaning that would favor the favorite. Or you might see a line that, say, in college football, maybe it's 14, and then maybe 15 minutes before kickoff, it moves to plus 13.5. So that would be, that line movement is late and it's subtle. So extremely fascinating to talk about a public line movement and why it's important to distinguish between the two. You never want to be on the side of a public line move because there's no value in a public line move. And this is such a great example of it from yesterday. And we'll also be able to talk about sharp movement in this example as well, which is why it's so good. Coastal Carolina was playing James Madison, big game. James Madison undefeated. Coastal, not the best season, but a good season, where their quarterback, Grayson McCall, was out. And there were rumors that he was going to start. So let's go ahead and go over here and look at the line first from that day. So if we go to, if you guys can see this 11, make sure it's on the screen. Okay. Look over here to the right around, you can see 4:41 that morning, it was at 8.5. And then that morning, the morning of the game, which was yesterday, the line's at plus 7.5 Coastal. Okay. Plus 7.5 Coastal. Now, Grayson McCall was their best quarterback. He was out, and there were rumors that he might start. Well, he hadn't played in, I think, almost 2 months. Now, what happens around, let's show you the other tab here. I think it was, I'm not sure of the exact time. You can kind of see it from the line movement. This was big news that it was announced that he was going to start. Okay. Now, look what happens to this line. So it's 7.5. Okay, we go back here. Now look what happens at 2:55. It's down to 7. 3:05. It's at 6.5. 3:11. It's at 6. Look at 3:13. It's at 4.5. Then at 3:16, it goes to 3.5. So if we go back to the definition of sharp movement, would this be classified as sharp movement? No, it would not. This is a public line move. It's when the public is, quote, moving the line. And what's fascinating in that previous video, and I mentioned this before, this confirmed my theory about public line moves, is that a lot of times what the books will do, they'll move the line anticipating people will overreact to this. So if you've ever heard of something called a trap line, this might be probably maybe your best example, meaning they're moving this line even without not a lot of people, quote, playing Coastal. It's basically a, quote, false move or a ghost move. The money's not making the line move. The books are simply moving the line, anticipating a lot of people are going to jump on that side. So they lower the Coastal line, make the opposite line attractive. So this is a classic example of a public line move. Now, in terms of how you would approach a game, you would never want to be on the public line move side, right? And I'm not saying to use this as a strategy to simply fade every public line move, but to be aware of it. Meaning, and my model actually did have Coastal favorite in this one, by the way, but you would never want to be on the public line move side. But what's super fascinating about this, so this line, just to review, it goes 7.5. Now it's at 6.5. It's at 4.5, 3.5. Look what happens right before kickoff at 3:21. This line bumps back up in favor of James Madison. And again, what is our definition of sharp movement? Sharp movement is late and it's subtle. And that is a clear example, really good example of sharp movement. So basically, what happened was the public, this is all public move here. And all the public, they're overreacting to this news. Sharps are sitting back waiting for this line to get extremely low. It got down to 3.5. Sharps hammered at 3.5 and it bumps back up to 4. So great example of sharp movement versus a public line move. You will see this a lot in NBA basketball. A lot of times what happens in the case with this quarterback here, they overreact to one person. You got to remember, one person is generally not going to be worth 3 or 4 points in any sport. They're just not. There's 20 in football, there's 22 people on the field. Granted, a quarterback's an important position, and maybe a really good basketball player would be the case, but it's just how this business works. You want to avoid public line movement at all costs. If you want to be a client, you can do that for $50 a month. You get access to all my power rankings for pretty much everything right now. We got NFL, college football. We're going to premiere college basketball this week. Super excited about that. Have a lot of success with NHL right now. You also get access to my coaching videos. If you want access to all my plays, $100 a month. You join for the entire year. You save about $600. It's $500. You get access to everything on site for 1 year. There's a link to join in the description box. Be aware of those public line moves. Stay away. If anything, move and play the opposite side. Good luck. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.